Feels like this crap is never ending. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, this video is sponsored by Sheath underwear. And also, by me. I have some limited edition heartfelt sweaters, jumpers, hoodies, and so on in my merch store. You're welcome to go and check them out. I hope they give you a chuckle. Link is in the description. So yeah, click around, have a look, buy a thing if you so desire, and or subscribe to the email list on my website because it helps me tremendously if YouTube ever decides to axe me. Anyway, now fear not, I do have other videos like deep dives and some other projects I'm working on coming in the next couple days and in the next couple weeks and months and what have you. But as far as this topic goes, if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I care a lot about it. And something happened in the last week or in the last couple days that really bothered me. I already made quite a long video talking about the erasure of women, which I will link in the description, where I laid out some of the ways in which womanhood is being pushed to the edge of the cliff and into the ravine, with of course lots of sharp pointy rocks at the bottom to break its fall. I know that this topic by and large is constantly being flogged, but in the same way that we need to consistently talk about child abuse and shine a light on it when it happens, and the more and more that it goes on, this topic for me is more or less the same thing. And as I watch crazy people gain more and more ground and the traction that this topic and that this issue is picking up, I feel like it's something that, again, we also need to shine a light on. Because it kind of feels like we're making efforts to erase, like, half of the population. Something that I think is worth noting too is that even when we finally get to a point where we say enough is enough, and seriously, I do hope we get to that point, it's worth remembering that the radical activists, this transgender theory, gender theory in general, will still have gained some ground. And these people will still have gained some ground when it comes to their endeavors. Even if these activists have only advanced their agenda a little bit, whether that comes in the form of invading female spaces, erasing language surrounding gender, or erasing women as a general rule, changing language to accommodate their version of reality, or even normalizing things that are objectively not normal, they still will have achieved some of their ends. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think that more or less summarizes where we're at. Anyway, before you once again board my hell gondola and I take you down into depression land, where we talk about the ways in which women are once again being erased by objectively crazy people, let's hear from our sponsor, Sheath underwear. I'm not a man, as far as I know, and therefore do not need to keep my dingle-dangles and berries and things off of my legs. But I hear some of you do, and that's what Sheath underwear is designed to help with. For the purposes of science, and given my absence of male genitalia, I asked a few of the men in my life to try out Sheath underwear, and this is what I imagine happened when they did so. Actually, on a serious note, one articulated this to me, and that was a weird conversation. Unlike regular boxers or briefs, which I hear squish everything together, Sheath has 3 individual compartments for the man pickle and the dingleberries, so everything is separate, cool, and comfortable. No chafing or readjusting. And ladies, no stinky man smell for you either. Speaking of you ladies, Sheath also have a female line. Because lads, your dingleberries aren't the only thing that gets squashed by uncomfortable undergarments. So if you too want to feel easy breezy beautiful cover girl, click the link in the description or go to sheathunderwear.com/SydneyWatson and use promo code SydneyWatson for 20% off your order. I'm assuming your dingleberries will thank you, but it's probably best to find out for yourself. The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh went on Dr. Phil recently and interacted with 2 self-professed non-binary people. If you're anything like me and you're still trying to work out how someone can be non-binary when binary refers to 2 options, and if there's only 2 options and you're neither of those options, then you're a nothing. Well, hello. Welcome to planet Earth, where everything is a giant joke and nothing makes sense. Wow, Sydney, thank you so much for your input on a topic that you clearly don't understand as a cisgender heteronormative bigot. Bigot McBigotson. Both of you need therapy, and one of you needs to shower. During the interaction, Matt says what he thinks a woman is, which is an adult human female. And because Dr. Phil copyright claims all clips from his show, I will narrate what's happening here. He says that a female is someone who has female reproductive organs. He adds that being a female goes right down to your DNA. If you were to be dug up in 100 years, researchers can determine your sex because it is coded in every fiber of your being. He adds that researchers can't tell what you believed at the time, but they can tell what sex you are. Unless, of course, we start burying people with their pronoun badges and asexual flags. Matt then turns the question over to the they-thems. Cause yeah, don't we love the input of people who can't work out what gender they are. Ethan, this person, initially answers and says that he can't define a woman because it's not for him to say, and womanhood looks different for everybody. I can confirm that's a big ol' nope. Sydney, your order of nope arrived. Oh my god, finally! Addison, this person, counters and says what happens if a woman has organs that don't work and can't reproduce, or doesn't have some of the organs in question in reference to what Matt was talking about. And honestly, I think this is something that I answered already in my video, The Erasure of Women, but I do want to repeat it again for good measure. Women are genetically programmed to produce ova and bear young. This is a fact. And whether or not that female eventually does produce offspring or reproduces, whether they are born intact with all their female anatomy or whether their female anatomy works is not the issue. Even non-functioning female anatomy is still female anatomy. In line with Matt's comments, being female, being a woman, is programmed in every single cell of your body. Anyway, Addison, I already answered your question. You're welcome. Addison goes on to say, I cannot define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is an umbrella term that includes people who identify as a woman. Identify as what? As a woman. What is that? Well, it's each to their own. Each person is going to have a different relationship with their own gender identity. So trans women are women too. X for doubt. And the audience claps for this. Because, I don't know, I guess studio audiences are now the authority on women. X for doubt. So I have to admit, I found this entire exchange exceedingly not fun. And I guess what made it worse and what added fuel to the fire was the fact that Addison, the non-binary person, took to Instagram to say this. Since the taping, Ethan and I have been experiencing a heightened level of anxiety to the point that we've had numerous nightmares and depression spirals over the last month. This week has been the worst. I'm not sure if they're saying this because they participated voluntarily in a show where someone questioned them and their ideas, which if you really think about it is kind of hilarious given that these people are making comments about the experiences of women and what it means to be a biological woman and questioning all of that while simultaneously getting very upset and traumatized and having nightmares because someone questioned their narrative. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, emotionally, I then found this particularly fun article by LGBTQ Nation. And also, mind you, if you have the time, go and look at the post on Instagram because the comments are a lot of fun. Dr. Phil invited anti-trans activists to spread hate on TV and it's painful to watch. Dr. Phil's guests called transgender identity a delusion and mental illness, and then expected his trans guests to defend their existence. Don't these people kind of expect women to defend their existence? By basically telling us like all the time that our existence doesn't really mean anything? And that anyone can be us? I hate it. Thanks for asking. I'm acutely aware of the fact that I've talked about this a lot, and obviously this video with Matt Walsh is just another illustration of how insane we're getting as a group of people, as a society. And I know that this topic is inevitably going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to keep coming up again and again. But us consistently talking about it, I don't think is such a bad thing, because something has to give. If these kind of people are the ones directing conversation, then it's safe to say that we're not heading in a particularly good direction. And I think the truth of the matter is that this is extremely insulting and pretty offensive to biological women. We actually talked about this exact topic on my show You Are Here the other night, and coincidentally and funnily enough, the guest that we had on at the time was Buck Angel, who is a female to male transsexual. And here's a snippet of the conversation that went on during that episode.
I know it by living my life as a female and then I'm living my life as a man. Two different spaces. That being said, when somebody like that says womanhood is just something you basically feel, or I'm not even feel, just put on, that's insulting. That is insulting to women. And is degrading, and is also not understanding what that guy just said. What is a woman? Didn't even answer the question.
Well, they can't define it. So I made a video on my channel a little while back called The Erasure of Women, and I just went through a myriad of things that, personally I feel are happening, or that observably are happening, where we're eroding language around women, right. Where like I'm a cervix haver rather than a female or a woman, or these actual terms that have existed for millennia that we have comfortably used for a very long time.
You're a birthing person.
I'm a birthing person. So if they were to define these terms, they would find very quickly that their worldview would fall apart.
That's right.
Saying that a woman is nothing more than a feeling is, as you said, Buck, it's so insulting.
It's
because
insulting.
It renders me, what am I then? Because if we can't define what a woman is, and a woman is anybody who identifies as a woman, then we're better off saying that we're just people, or we're humans.
Yeah.
And if we're humans, then that includes everyone.
That's
right.
right.
Woman means nothing.
In the last little while, we've seen some people claim that trans women can experience periods because they get cravings and mood swings. Yeah, because it's not like a period has anything to do with female reproductive processes. And speaking of female bodies, I recently saw an Insider article that described women as players with vaginas when referencing the TV game show Survivor. The British Columbia government in Canada recently tweeted about pregnant people and self-identifying pregnant people, because, it's not just women who can get pregnant today. And if you aren't a woman, you can just self-identify as pregnant, as it were. Because what do words even mean anyway? Perhaps the best part of all of this is that we have people who say that they identify as neither male nor female, who dress like this, who act like this, telling the rest of us that female is an umbrella term that can encapsulate anyone. And truthfully, I don't know how or why these people became the authority on what it means to be a woman, what it is to be a woman, but I have to be honest, I'm extremely angry now that we're here. At this point in time, transgender ideology demands that, in the name of inclusion, we don't use words like men or women in the traditional context, as not to offend or exclude anyone whose self-identification or self-expression of gender doesn't line up with their biology. We are now being told that the word women extends to everyone, because if it doesn't, it might contradict the idea that biological men can be women and vice versa. Radical trans theory is effectively erasing the concept of womanhood for the sake of crystallizing the idea that being a man or a woman means really nothing at all. And it gets even weirder than that. On one hand, you have womanhood being treated as a caricature based on observable physical traits. Apparently anyone can have a period because they have cravings, and anyone can be a woman if they wear long dresses and makeup. On the flip side of this, I've seen men who are very clearly, obviously men, say that they're women, make zero effort to appear as a woman, and still be considered a woman. Think of it as the "it's ma'am" vibe.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
National Review writer Alexandra DeSanctis, names are hard, described this as erasing womanhood through allowing biological males to don the mantle of femaleness simply by asserting that it is their birthright. I'm not gonna lie, whenever I read into this topic, I always find myself on these feminist blogs, and weirdly enough, and confusingly for me, I find myself agreeing with many of their sentiments. Take this quote, for example. Radical trans activists, with the complicity of progressives, earnestly attempting to support what they perceive as a vulnerable victim group, are guilty of the worst form of misogyny in their ruthless campaign to erase from our thoughts the human female body as a unique life form. But ultimately, this rolls back around to the fact that woman is quickly becoming a term that means absolutely nothing. If you define a woman as anybody who identifies as such, then the meaning of the word dissolves completely. To again reiterate something that I said in my Erasure of Women video. If biological men can be considered women, and if those biological men don't have anything in common with biological women besides being humans, then the word woman has no meaning. The trans community wants us to believe that the common characteristic across the group women is that these individuals all identify as women. But if they identify as women, that leads us back to the original question. What is this thing, woman, that they identify as? Surely, if they can identify as a woman, then they can identify what a woman is. And if no one can identify what a woman is, then how can anyone know if they are one? The definition, a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, is a circular definition that leads nowhere. In the end, this is all offensive, and I'm over it. I don't want to play this game, I don't want to participate in this anymore, and that's all I wanted to say. No doubt this conversation will continue to roll on, and the reality is, guys, if I have to suffer through it, so do you. Because we're a team. And that's what teams do. In the end, women are unique, and our biology should not be denied in order to appease a fringe group of people. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder that you can download Sheath underwear using the link in the description. When you do, and you use promo code Sydney Watson, you'll receive 20% off your order. Very cool, Kanye. Also, feel free to check out the limited edition Heartfelt merch, which will only be around for a little while longer. And then we have a couple new designs dropping that I think are hilarious, and I hope you too will think are hilarious. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are we actually erasing women? Am I just being a crazy person and this is not in fact happening? Do the non-binary they them people, are they making a good point? Is there something to be said for their ideology? Is this all complete insanity and we've completely lost the plot? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe, the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time.